Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 23rd. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. It was day 38 in the house, and oh boy, there's a lot. There's a lot to get to. There was a lot that happened before the eviction. There's a lot that happened after the eviction. And there's a lot that was hidden from us as well. So there's a lot of strategic stuff. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of lots of things. And with me to talk about all of the things is Pooya. How you doing, Pooya?
I'm doing phenomenal. I will let y'all know that I had to convince Taran to put his noodles away and not bring his noodles into the live feed update today. So we are all blessed.
Can we just talk about that for a second?
I mean, please, I'm ready.
The live feeds are sometimes a thing that happens to me where I get so irrationally angry and I can't, there's nothing to blame. Like, it's not anybody's fault. But when they are slurping down ramen as they stealth whisper their entire strategic conversation, I was starting to genuinely, I think I might hate ramen more than making out at this point.
That was the question that was asked by America last night. And honestly, I don't disagree. And it has to do with the fact that they whisper, so your volume's a little higher because you want to try and get the whisper. But then you don't get enough of a warning when you suddenly see that fork full of ramen go slurp down the gullet. It is a lot. It's intense. And of course, that was the first one-on-one we were going to have of the night with the ramen present.
And they're just holding it there. They're just holding it there. And you're just like, oh, I know it's coming. I know it's coming. It's and they're oh! I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And it makes me so mad at them, but I can't even blame them. It's not even their fault. It's kind of a little bit their fault, but it's not really their fault. But listen, anybody that goes on the show, there's a lot of general knowledge you can brush up on. I think, that you can figure out what to do as HOH, not volunteer as a pawn. Lots of basic stuff. But I think one of the things that we need to get into the ether, into this whole zeitgeist of Big Brother, if you go on the show, just be careful of the noises you make into your microphone. Please, 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 please.
Definitely be cognizant of what it sounds like. Maybe study up the chemo supercut before you go in, because I feel like chemo exudes a lot of noises, a lot of different noises coming out of chemo. So keep that in mind, because my God, it is easily one. I mean, also low key though, if you want people to not hear what you're saying, if you want people to not want to care about what you have to say on the feeds, then definitely slurp up, because I might switch cams if not for the fact that you were talking to the HOH.
Man, it wasn't the two that's Rubina spent, it felt like half the morning spraying the loudest spray bottle of sunscreen into her hair, which I had never heard of before. And Leah told her was a good idea. Tikor didn't think so. But that also was quite a lot. And listen, again, I want to make it clear, it is not Chemo's fault. It is not Rubina's fault. They're just living their life.
Just being humans.
We are in a privileged position to be watching their every move. And who are we to be like, you need to live your life differently so that we're less annoyed. So it is very much it is a very frustrating thing. It is not their fault. It is just, you just have to accept it. It's part of Big Brother life, Big Brother live feed life.
We're the weird ones for surveying people eating and spraying, and we're like, okay, what did you say then? Okay, cool. Like we're the intense ones that should be checked, maybe.
Okay, anyway, let's get to the actual day here.
Moving on
the feeds, of course. Tucker was the HOH. Chelsea, Brooklyn, and Cam were on the block the night before. there was a lot of talk about, should we flip this vote? Can we flip this vote? If we do, to save Chelsea against Cam, we'll need to talk to Tucker about it. Rubina talked to Tucker about it that night, the night of day 37, and she brought it up, and Tucker basically said, absolutely not. We saw this in the episode last night. Then some more things happened, which Leah has some theories on. We'll get to that later. In the morning, Rubina let Tikor and Chemo know that she tried with Tucker. He basically said no. So they're going to go up as a group and talk to him and see if they can get him to change his mind. And so they go up there and they talk to him. And he once again is like, well, Chelsea's leaving, obviously. And Chemo and Rubina try to be like, well, but what about? And he's like, no, guys, one of them has to leave. That is how it goes. Like, this is just how it is. One of them has to leave. And they look at Tikor and she's like, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so then they're like, okay. And Chemo's like, well, okay, well, what about, should we like maybe like formalize this group, the four of us, make an alliance? They're like, yes, that's a good idea. They separate for a while. Tucker leaves. And as soon as Tucker leaves, Tikor pulls Rubina. Rubina, are we just going to really roll over and do what he wants? And Rubina's like, dude, you didn't even say anything.
This right here is probably the biggest knock against Tikor's game for me. It's because you're having the opinions. It's important to have opinions and to form your own game in the house and figure out what's best for you. But also, you have to be ready to back that up, especially if what you want to do hinges on the approval or the at least notice of Tucker. He has to know what you really think. And I mean, obviously, all things considered, the silence will work for maybe the future. Who knows? But in that moment, if you really want to do this, then do it. But you can't, because this is the hardest thing for me, Taran. It's the whole, and this has been discussed a lot on the live feed updates this season. It's people expecting you to read their minds when they could just tell you. I cannot. It's too tough. I mean, I like to think I'm a good read of character, and I can tell when people are upset. I can tell when people are hungry, when they're feeling some things, but I cannot tell what they're thinking often if I don't know them like that. You got to tell me. If you tell me, it's better than if you don't tell me. And quite frankly, it's tough to watch.
Well, yeah, it's not even over because they're like, okay, well, okay, we're not going to roll over. When he comes back, let's do the conversation right this time. Let's actually say, let's say
that was the practice run.
Yeah, okay. That makes Tikor says, okay, I will say something this time. Tucker comes back in. It's the four of them again. And again, the topic is brought up. And it's brought up in a way that Tucker's he's starting to get annoyed. Because it's like, okay, so I know we just agreed to it, but let's just go over it one more time. So obviously, if Brooklyn is on the block, Brooklyn goes. It's like, yes. It's like, okay, that's the easy one, says Chemo. He's like, no, that's not the easy one. They're both Chelsea also goes if she's on the block with Cam. And they're like, yeah, probably. He says, no, definitely. That's definitely that's what we're doing, right? Like that is what we're doing. Right? Tikor? Yeah, so I mean, okay. And Tikor finally speaks up. She says, okay, here we go. Tikor's going to say something. She says, okay, well, the thing is that personally, I did kind of like make a pact with Chelsea, like as a black woman, that we're going to look out for each other until jury. So like, I'm not going to vote against Chelsea, but that's okay because like Leah's going to vote Chelsea out. Leah doesn't want Chelsea out. And like, if everyone else is down for it, then Chelsea will leave anyway. So it's just me. Tucker's like, okay. And it gets really awkward. And they change the subject. And they start talking about alliance names.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, all you heard was, all right, I've committed my vote. I can't, but she'll still go. And for Tucker, that's probably good enough. That's one. So it's fine. But the thing, I think this is the biggest thing with this season is that and this has been brought up, there's a lot of passive players, a lot of players who don't really want to be the one driving. We've got a lot of passenger princesses. I'm one of them. I don't drive. I sit in the passenger seat, all cozy. Liana drives. I love my life. But that allows someone like Tucker, who's very into driving, to just kind of get his way. And there's not a lot of opposition. There's not a lot of people being vocal against him, which then empowers him to be very much forward thinking of like, nope, this is also an easy decision. It should be, because I say that. And is anyone going to oppose me? Nobody. Oh, you might not vote, but everybody else is down. So you've given him all the power. You really have given him all the power. And he's had this power in so many different people's reigns for that reason.
T-Core is me when I accidentally answer a spam call. It's like, oh yeah, you want some information? I mean, I'm kind of busy. Oh, it doesn't. You just want me to answer anyway. I mean, okay, I guess like, yeah, that's fine. Oh man, but ooh, sorry, I gotta go. Oh, you still want to talk to me? No, but I really sorry. I gotta screw that person. I can't believe they made me talk that much. I'm never answering a phone again.
So you're nicer than me. I've gone past that stage now. It's I pick up, and if I realize that I've made a mistake, I immediately hang up.
I don't know. I completely can relate to T-Core in this moment, because I can totally, like, the vibe switches immediately if I'm talking to him. I find it so difficult to feel like I'm being rude in any way.
Yeah, I mean, listen, being rude, being selfish, very outward facing is a tough thing to do. Make no mistake about it. And also, if the recipient is Tucker, you just don't know what you're gonna get on the way back. So you don't want that smoke.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually, we were playing Blood on the Clock Tower the other week, and I was very convinced that Christian Hubicki was a demon. And he got me on a one-on-one call, and he was just filibustering me. And I was like, I just let him for like a full minute. And I needed to talk to people. And I eventually had to be like, Christian, I think you're trying to waste my time. I think I need to leave. And he was like, oh. I was like, no, I'm sorry.
But he was actually trying to waste your time.
He was.
Yeah, you correctly read that. That's
anyway. So it gets awkward. They start talking about alliance names. And they're just they're throwing out names, and like, it's like, how did we go from let's convince Tucker to let us keep Chelsea to we are now naming the four of us as an alliance, and we still want different things. They end up landing on friends with a Z, Z's at the end, because they sleep. They're sleepy, and they're also friends. And so it's like, all right, friends, like, hands in, ooh, let's go, yay. Tucker leaves. I can't believe we just rolled over and did what he wanted again, says T-Core.
Not only did you not change the target, but you made an alliance with them. Like, it's kind of like one of those situations where you walk in to give the scammer a piece of your mind, and then you leave having bought something from them. You know what? I don't know what happened. It's like that whole like sitcom trope where they try and quit the gym, and then they come back like, actually, I upgraded my membership to premium now. So
yes, every time they go, it gets worse.
Yeah.
So Rubina kind of again is like, T-Core, you didn't say anything again. Like, it's just T-Core. It's hard. It's hard to like do this because then it just feels like it's just me. It's just me saying this, and that and I'm trying to say everyone wants this, but then you're not saying anything, and so we're not getting anywhere. Now I feel like we need to go talk to Tucker again. But then T-Core starts counting the votes, and they kind of realize, wait, we kind of have the votes. Like, the three of us, plus Brooklyn if she comes down, plus Quinn, plus maybe MJ. Like, we kind of have these votes. Okay, how about this? Let's just wait. It's again, they're such procrastinators. They're like, okay, we tried to do it the right way and do the project a little bit ahead of time, but we actually do still technically have, we can technically do it during class. Like, well, like they you know, the professor's going to collect it at the end of class. So technically we have the time during class where we can coordinate and figure out this project and get it done. And you know what? If Tucker doesn't want us to, if Tucker gets mad, he'll have to get over it. That's just it.
We kind of reached the point we were before you had this conversation where you still had the votes then, you have the votes now, and that's something you could do. This is low-key my worst nightmare, Taran, if I was to play Big Brother, is to be in purgatory with people who are not committing to plans or not committing to a decision. I cannot deal. I need an answer of some sort. I need to know where I am mentally. I can't just be in limbo waiting for an answer.
Mm-hmm. So they spend the rest of the morning kind of like talking to various people. They talk to MJ, who is receptive to the idea and even talks about, well, what about saving Brooklyn? And really, I mean, if not for the procrastination, I actually think Brooklyn would have stayed. I think because they tried this and they were like, okay, we'll concede on the Brooklyn part, but give us Chelsea. And then he didn't give Chelsea either. They were like, well, we'll just take Chelsea. And they just felt too uncomfortable to also take Brooklyn, but they wanted to, and they had the numbers to also. And there's a very real chance that it could have happened. It just never came together. But MJ would have been down. Leo would have been down for Brooklyn, but pushed back on Chelsea. They talked to Quinn, who was happy to do whatever. So they had the votes to really do whatever they wanted. Leah, though, again, was not happy about the Chelsea thing. She still is upset with Chelsea for making fun of her and saying that she's using flirtation to get through the game and stuff like that. And so she actually goes and warns Cam, hey, they're trying to flip the vote on you. And Cam is like, yeah, I figured.
Cam
He's gonna
is
win AI.
Yeah, he's Camuff, Taran. He's just like Ken. He's just there. His job's backyard. Not really making moves, this Cam. But I will say that's the interesting point for me with this week was that at some point it started shifting from just we don't want Chelsea to go to I would like Cam to leave, which is what you're saying of like if the procrastination hadn't taken so long, Brooklyn could have also been safe, is because at some point it even got to a point where it's like, I just want Cam to go. It's not even that I want Chelsea to stay only.
They're all saying it outright at this point. He hasn't campaigned to anyone, they feel. Now I would have said he probably feels like he campaigned to Rubina, but she doesn't feel that way. And the fact that he hasn't campaigned to anyone, that he doesn't talk game with anyone, means that nobody knows where his head is. And they're all happy to just take him out if that's the case. But it is not what happens, because as we saw on the eviction episode, Chelsea won the AI arena competition.
I would argue no one won that AI competition.
That is fair.
Yeah. But Chelsea technically got the W.
That leaves Cam and Brooklyn on the block, and Brooklyn is evicted by an 8-1 vote. And that is our board. So we're then going to play HOH. And I believe it was some sort of quiz, some sort of like, reacting to information, sounds, whatever quiz. I think it only went 3 questions.
Yep.
And because it was so quick, it was one of those situations where somebody who seemingly wasn't really trying to win it just accidentally ended up winning it. And so T-Core is our new HOH. Wouldn't you know it? Oh boy. T-Core is the HOH. And this is one of those moments where, like, for as much indecision as there often is, or hesitation, procrastination, whatever you want to say about T-Core, the reality is she has been in control of the last 2 votes. So much so that it's been like literally hanging on her word. And that's because she is in such a great social position. And that is exemplified by how people are reacting to her being HOH.
My God. The reactions were real, Taran. There were a lot. They were very real.
Mm-hmm. From as little as like, oh, this is great. I feel safe. This is good for me, to literally bawling. Like, I'm so proud of her.
Rabina let out every tear in her body last night. And it came to a point where she would cry, then she would stop, have a conversation. Someone would just say T-Core's name and it would begin all over again.
Yeah. So Rubina cries for her. She is going to now. What was funny was that prior to winning this, she was talking about how she doesn't like Tucker's open door policy for the HOH. That if she was the HOH, she would be just like, close that door off, spend some alone time in there. So we'll see what happens with that. But she wants to get her one-on-ones out of the way as quickly as possible. She really doesn't know what to do. And so she kicks it off with Chemo, and he says, "Oh wait, let me make you some ramen that we can eat together while we
Yay.
whisper very quietly." And then this is oof. This was so bad. This was, oh boy.
All we needed was for Chemo to be the second one on the one-on-ones because they each had a 20-minute cap. And as long as he was second, the noodles would not have made it to the one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
But the meetings were held at the beginning of noodle time. So
yep. So yeah, I so I wrote in my notes, I've never hated ramen more.
when's the last time you had some?
When I was sick, actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
recently.
All right. So, T-Core's initial thoughts. She really doesn't know what to do. Chemo starts telling her what he thinks. Then he's like, "Wait a minute. Do you have thoughts?" And she's like, "Not really. Please tell me." And so, the one thought that T-Core has is primarily that I think Tucker would volunteer. Because let's be real, T-Core is not the biggest Tucker fan. And she would like to take him out at some point. Now, I talked about this on Thursday, last night during the podcast. I said, I don't think T-Core will be willing to take the shot against Tucker. However, if he volunteers, that gives her the ability to do all that she needs, which is put him on the block. Now, that does give him the ability to win the veto, and that's an extra, chance for him to save himself. But if he doesn't win the veto, now all of a sudden he's going into the AI arena, and that's the best that she can do on her HOH reign if she wants to take Tucker out. So him volunteering is a great way for her to just get him on the block. In addition to that, it's a slot on the block that is filled by somebody that she doesn't have to piss off as much. So this is such a no-brainer for her. If Tucker can volunteer or be okay with going on the block, it dramatically improves her HOH reign in multiple ways.
Yeah, I mean, as long as he is willing to go up, that doesn't count as you putting him up in a weird roundabout way. And if he wins, he wins. Like, who cares? It's honestly gotten to this point now where you see a lot of people talking about how, yeah, well, we don't need him to have more resume points. It's just another win for him is another notch on his resume. I would argue, don't even look at it that way anymore. Look at it as if he wins, that's someone, he's taking a resume point away from somebody else, number one. He's like scooping them all up. And that's just going to make him the more obvious, blatant target later once there is no AI comp. So just keep that in mind. And also, you don't go up as a result. And this is just anybody else that's not the HOH. Like, you don't have to go up. So that's kind of nice.
Exactly. If she doesn't put him up initially, then she can't put him up without it being obvious she's targeting him. Basically.
Right.
Because putting him up post veto makes it obvious, but then he might win AI arena, and then you're screwed. So, so this is the best way to target him and also eat up a spot on the block. And so it is a no-brainer for T-Core. She would love it if Tucker was willing to volunteer. Aside from that, she's not really sure what to do. She does know that Chemo, Rubina, and Chelsea are lock safe. She's not touching them. And that means that anybody else is theoretically up for grabs. Chemo suggests Leah and maybe even Joseph as options. T-Core would prefer to not touch either of them. There's beyond that, the obvious, which is how about just anybody outside of the alliances that we're in? And that would mean there are 6th Avenue is, the alliance, but they're also in Visionaries with Quinn. So that's a 7th person. She's not gonna, and so 7 people they're in alliances with in various ways. There's 11 people left in the game. That means there's 4 people outside of the alliances. One of them is Chelsea, who she is not touching. That literally leaves only 3 people: Cam, Leah, and MJ. And so for Chemo, that's the rest of it. That's the obvious thing left is just put those 3 up on the block. But T-Core would like to not put Cam on the block. She would like to not put Leah on the block. And she even eventually gets to the point where she would love to not put MJ on the block. All she knows is that she would love to put Tucker on the block.
Yeah, this is one of those moments where I really thought, again, based on her alliances and realizing that there's 3 people outside of them. All right, you're done. Your job is done for the week until a replacement nom. If Tucker volunteers and you can get him on, then you're sorted. You have 3+1 for the renom. You're fine. But things are never that simple, especially when it comes to T-Core and how she may be feeling about some of her connections here.
Yeah. So she says, let's reconvene afterwards. She's going to talk to a bunch of people. Chemo advises her, don't say much, get a bunch of information, try to set yourself up. So she's going to have these one-on-ones. In the meantime, Chemo goes and talks to Tucker, who says, hey, you know what? I'm thinking of letting T-Core know that I'm down to be a pawn.
Instantly.
Boom! Easy win, right? Or not.
Should be, but it's not.
Because Chemo says, well, I don't really want any of us going up on the block. Chemo! The betrayer! At 2, Chemo! Wouldn't you know it? Chemo sabotaging his allies' HOH, trying to prevent Tucker from volunteering. Tucker, though, kind of blows right through this for now. He says, I'm down. I'm just so proud of T-Core. I want her to do whatever she wants. I think she should nominate like Quinn and Chelsea, but I know that she might not want to. So whatever she wants, whatever she needs, I'm down. I'm down to volunteer. And that's how Tucker kind of feels. He even cries with Rubina about being so happy for T-Core. He's like, feels like a proud parent. And she's like, it's going to be really hard for her as HOH. And he says, that's exactly it. Like, I want to do whatever she wants to do, which is very funny again, because like T-Core's famous line now is like, he has the HOH. He got to make the nominations, but we get to choose. Tucker is very much the guy. He's like, she gets to choose as the HOH.
The 2 schools of thought when it comes to Big Brother.
Yeah. So Cam talks to Chelsea, and I thought this was very interesting because Cam, he really is just such a chill person that like it can be surprising sometimes when he does start talking game. Like that whole ordeal when Tucker proposed backdooring Quinn and Cam was a player in the game all of a sudden. He survived the block, and all of a sudden he's like, yeah, Chelsea. So I'm pretty sure the alliance is Tucker, Rubina, Chemo, and T-Core. I think we would probably need to put up Tucker, Rubina, and Chemo. We can leave T-Core alone, but Tucker needs to go. And man, we really need to pick Leah back up. Like, we need to get something. And it's like, where have you been hiding?
It comes in these weird bursts of energy moments. And then honestly, given Cam, we might not hear from him again for another 4 business days. So
yeah. Especially if he touches the block again and needs to go into hibernation.
Exactly.
Like, it's usually the opposite. It's like touching the block usually like wakes people up. It seems to be the opposite for Cam.
Yeah. I mean, I was about to say, oh, maybe if he had won power, we'd see something interesting. But even then, I can't trust it because we see that such little bursts. You can't really trust that.
Yeah. So Tucker goes and talks to T-Core. He cries again. He calls her a legend. He says, whatever you want to do as HOH, I will help you do it. Remember, it's just a game. If you need me to go up as a pawn, I'm down. It's not necessarily my preference, but I'm willing. I offered it to everybody else. It would be weird if I didn't offer it to you. So if you need me to, I'm down. And this is music to T-Core's ears. She doesn't even care if he's just being polite.
I think it's weird that this is your ally. You don't need to offer this up to T-Core. But listen, if you feel this way, give her another option to mull over. Why not?
So then T-Core starts knocking out these one-on-ones. She talks to Angela. And I thought this was very funny because Angela,
Yes.
Angela is such a she it's just such a perfect encapsulation of who Angela is. T-Core asks Angela, who are the three people that you would have nominated if you had won HOH? Who would you be targeting? And Angela's like, no, you're not going to trick me. I'm not naming names. This is your decision. You should talk to some other people. Maybe they would know. That's not really my purview. Okay, who do you see as threats? Well, I think Quinn, Leah, and Chelsea are probably the biggest threats for me in the game.
Yeah, it really started off with, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Honestly, you should ask Tucker or Chemo to be your advisors for this kind of thing. They'll probably know what to do. But then when you reframe the question, she was very quick to be like, oh, for me personally, these are my feelings. I'm not saying nominate them, but these are just how I feel about these three people that I would like to see up.
Oh, man, it was funny. I enjoyed it. T-Core talks to Leah. Leah suggests MJ as a nomination. She talks about Rubina and how she wishes Rubina was playing an individual game. And she talks about how she wishes they could have saved Brooklyn. And T-Core's like, oh man, it was just too late in the game. Didn't have time. T-Core talks to Cam. And we didn't really see much of the conversation with Cam, but he was basically saying, I don't really have targets. Didn't seem like he was giving much. He does ask T-Core, would I have left if I had been on the block against Chelsea? And she says, yep, that's true. As far as I know, like, Tucker either hasn't fully realized how set the flip was in that spot, or is just kind of like, let's just ignore that. That's very inconvenient for me to have to deal with, especially with T-Core in power. So, who knows? But it doesn't seem to be a bump in the road for their relationship.
Yeah, listen, it didn't happen, so I don't need to think about how close it was to happening.
Yeah. All right. Well, while T-Core is doing these one-on-ones, Joseph, he's got a plan. He's got some ideas. He had talked to Leah about like, hey, I think we'll be good. Even if you go on the block as a pawn, I think we'll be okay. But we'll see. I'll feel some things out. He talks to Rubina and says he really feels like Chelsea should be on the block as a pawn instead of Leah. He thinks that Chelsea, obviously no one would vote her out. He knows that T-Core likes Chelsea. But she'd be such a great pawn because she knows she's on the bottom. She voted against the house. And quite frankly, she's probably coming after Rubina. She's probably coming after him. She's maybe not going after T-Core, but she's going after some of the people in the alliance, and she's the smartest player in the game. She's just a better person to have on the block than somebody like Leah, who might take it more personally. Here's the thing, Rubina. I don't know if I can pitch this to T-Core, but she might listen to you.
I would definitely notice little subtle things like this that Joseph's pulling off, because he constantly will say stuff and be like, okay, you start it though. Like all of this stuff that I just said, but you start it. You be the one to do it. It's very obvious what you're doing. You don't want Leah on the block. Even the argument that Chelsea should go up, we just won't vote her out, like she would be easy pawn. Then don't mention or don't bring up that, oh, but she might put me up. That just implies something different. It's unsubtle, but it kind of works for now, I guess.
We'll see. We'll see how Rubina actually feels about this. But he also then just goes and pitches it to T-Core.
Yeah, he ends up starting it anyway. It's because what was funny is after this conversation, he went into the bathroom and he was like, okay, I call dibs on the next one-on-one, and then says, has Chelsea talked to T-Core yet? No? Okay. I was like, oh, you're trying to get in first. You're trying to get that pitch in then. I wasn't sure if he was going to though, but he kind of just slid right into it.
He makes a hard pitch. He says, because Tikor's like, listen, the conversations haven't really helped much yet. And
Yeah.
he says, well, let me fix that for you. Here's what you should do. Cam, MJ, Chelsea. I know you like Chelsea, but she'd just be a pawn. She won't go home in any scenario. She can't even be mad at you because, again, she knows she's on the bottom. She was on the wrong side of the vote. I think it makes a lot of sense. Tikor says, how about a different option?
Yeah. So
Well,
to really quick frame all of this, so in the slurp on one, as we're calling it now, Chemo did set up the options of the questions that Tikor should ask. And the number one question was, if you were the HOH, which three would you put up? I think Tikor quickly realized that no one's giving me names. So she was like, even if you don't have a name, what kind of player would you put up? So these are the questions that everyone's getting. It's like a standard test. Everyone got the same questions.
He says, well, okay, different options. I guess you could consider Leah or Quinn. I mean, you could say you could consider Quinn, but Cam and MJ for sure, right? But you could tell Quinn like, oh, I'm letting you have a chance at veto. I just feel like if you put Leah up, she'll take it personally, and I feel like there's an option for you to work with her still on the table. And she says, well, Tucker volunteered to be a pawn. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that could work. She says, also, I don't really want Cam on the block again. And he's like, oh, well, okay, well, you got options. It's like very clearly like none of what he's suggesting is really what she's interested in, but he gets the pitch in, and it's worth something.
Listen, bless him, he's trying. And that's all you can ask for in your Big Brother players, is that they try and get what they want. But this was very interesting because, and this is my favorite part, Taran, at the very end of this one-on-one, right as he's about to leave, he's like, okay, so what should I tell people when I walk out of here? They're gonna ask me stuff. Leah's definitely gonna ask me what was said here. Should I just tell her she's safe then?
No,
She was like,
I haven't decided yet.
Yeah, it's not over yet. You do not get to be the knight in shining armor, Joseph. Get your ass back into the bathroom. You are no approval today.
He tries.
Yeah.
Tikor talks to Quinn, and they talk about MJ as an option. Quinn also suggests Cam, and says, well, it wouldn't surprise me if Tucker volunteered. You could also consider Angela, but you might not want to do that. She says, the thing is, I just really don't want to put Cam on the block again. And Quinn's like, I don't know. I feel like you'd get it, like what is like, it's not like he's, the most reactive player in the world. So she goes, okay, you might be right. I guess MJ, Cam, and Tucker might make some sense. And this is the first signs we're getting from Tikor about what she's thinking. I think she is reluctant to do Cam, but enough people have started to push Cam that she's like, okay, that makes some sense. Tucker volunteered, and then MJ, that does make some sense. And then if I need a renom, they discuss Leah might be the option there.
Yeah, Tikor is definitely, safe to say, someone who feels feelings very strongly. As someone who feels feelings very strongly, I can recognize that. But what was interesting to me in the one-on-ones is that the more time she had to mull over the same names that kept getting repeated, I feel like she envisioned putting them up, and she envisioned how hurt some of them would be, and then was like, I don't want to hurt that person. But then there's also plenty of other people she doesn't want to hurt. So now it's like, who do I hurt? I don't want to hurt any of these people. It's a very tough spot for her. It's worth noting as well, because I did see some people bringing this up in the YouTube chat. Tikor wasn't planning on winning this. She kind of accidentally won this.
Yeah, it's 3 questions, happens really fast. It's happened a lot in Big Brother history. Somebody just accidentally ends up winning one where everyone gets eliminated very quickly. So Tikor talks to MJ, and I thought MJ actually did a decent job in this conversation. She said she really trusts, because here's the thing. MJ is convinced that the Underdogs Alliance is a thing. And so in part because of that, she knows exactly who to say. She says, I trust you, Chemo, Tucker, Rubina. And I really want to support you guys. I will always have your back, Tikor. I'm all for the women. and so on and so forth. And she mentions Quinn as somebody that she might nominate. And I think the conversation goes really well. And I think that T-Core afterwards, as she tells Chemo later, she's like, man, I really do think that we could work with MJ. But who else would I put up at this point?
Yeah. All the people that were on her short list, I think, did good enough in the one-on-one that it kind of ended up clouding her thoughts even more. Even with the one-on-one with Leah, I felt like Leah definitely took the approach of, first of all, not giving any names, but then also very much highlighting, I just don't want people to be up your ass this week and, like, you know, be playing nice and fake to you. And I was like, well, I'm kind of seeing an example right here. But it could be working. Again, this could work on T-Core potentially. And I feel like between the duo of Chemo and T-Core, Chemo definitely has some people that he does not want to go up and will subtly try and make those maneuvers. Whereas I think T-Core just genuinely is in a cloud right now. I don't think she knows exactly where she wants to go, because I don't think T-Core wants to upset anybody. And I think Quinn really encapsulated it best in his one-on-one. He said, it's a testament to your social game that everyone is beaming with happiness that you have won this HOH.
Yeah, and you know, T-Core's game so far has been mostly defense, protecting the people that she feels will benefit her in the game, and that's been working really well for her. But she is now forced to go on the offense as the HOH, and so like this is a very different speed for her, and so it'll be very interesting to see how she handles it. So while the one-on-ones keep coming, Tucker talks with Chemo, and he's like, I don't actually want to go on the block. That's I was just kind of being polite because I offered it to other people, and so I felt like I needed to offer it to her. And Chemo, traitor as he is like, well, I don't think you should touch the block under any circumstances. I'll talk to T-Core about it. They talk about that, and then things get weird.
Yes.
Because they say, well, listen, I hope Chelsea's okay. She was crying. Chemo says, oh, I hope it's not like a family thing. And Tucker says, to me, it screams Leah. There's already been 4 other incidents, so it's kind of a lot. And she has this problem with a character she does. What's happening here? Very soon after this, we get a conversation with T-Core and Rubina. T-Core asks Rubina about Chelsea crying, and Rubina says somebody made an inappropriate comment about race. And the feeds start cutting all over the place.
Yeah, I believe chronologically, the Rubina conversation with T-Core happened after we got no feeds of the T-Core and Chelsea one-on-one, correct?
Yes. Sorry, yeah. We did not see any of the T-Core Chelsea.
Yeah, so that got cut. Then we got enough of the word race came up, and then that's it. That's all we got. And feeds have been down pretty much all morning. Or we've been on the fish tank. First of all, it was fish tank with no lights. Now the lights are on, but no one's there. This is the worst thing they could do. I mean, we've talked about this to oblivion, and I hate to just rehash over and over every season, but when you do this, we have to. Cutting the feeds like this to either prevent a article or dialogue to happen. Your fan base. We watched people slurp. We watch people spray. We watch people belch in each other's faces. You don't think that people are going to start drawing their own conclusions? You're very wrong. And that could potentially be worse for you than anything that we could potentially see. Now, for the detectives out there who want to try and add some context here, there was mention of something to do with race. It was mentioned that Leah has had a couple of comments made in the past. There was a mention of a Leo character, Leo, Leo. Now, could this have had to do with the young Cedric skit a couple weeks ago, potentially? But like, that's all I have. It's like you can't really figure out what's going on, and it's led to speculation. People think Leah's been expelled, which I don't think that's the case. Some people think that feeds are down for the AI instigator. I don't think that's the case. I don't know what the case is, though. I have no idea, Taran.
Yeah, basically, this is sort of the second time that Tucker has brought up Leah surrounding comments that she's made that he feels are derogatory. And so the speculation right now is that Rubina is referring to Leah, though we don't have any confirmation of that
Nope.
beyond Tucker, because Tucker didn't even say it was Leah. He said it screams Leah, that this is
Right.
seems like the thing that Leah would have done. So who knows at all at this point? But again, just further confirmation to me that if Big Brother had had their way, Luke would have been in the house all season long last season because they would have hit that button fast enough to block what had happened. And so just extremely disappointing from Big Brother's end that they clearly care only about protecting themselves and do not actually care about any of the things going on in their game. So the feeds, as Pooya said, are still down right now.
Mhm.
There is some more to talk about through the night, but things get very choppy from here, and it is very difficult to see sort of like where this where the conversations about this incident or incidents, if Tucker is to be believed, are happening. What is being said? Who did them? What Chelsea is reacting to? We don't know really much at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, to end this part of the feeds cut discussion, it really proves to me that it's more of a you're not sorry it happened, you're sorry you got caught with some of these other instances we've seen in the past.
Yep. So, listen, I'm sure this is unfortunately, especially because the feeds are cut for it, going to have to be a topic of conversation for the coming days or potentially week. So for now, we will, hopefully we'll find out more about it later. But for now, there's really not much else to say that hasn't either already been said or just that we don't know.
No idea.
Um, so Chemo talks to Quinn. They talk about not trusting Joseph. Chemo thinks that Joseph told Leah about the Underdogs Alliance. He says he tells her everything, way too much. He's clearly trying to protect her right now. Quinn says, yeah, and he doesn't spend enough time bonding with us. And so they're a bit sketchy on Joseph. Remember, Chemo even suggested Joseph as a potential nominee this week. You know, we'll see if that ends up happening. Tikor did not seem like she wanted to do that, but Tikor doesn't really want to do much of anything. So who knows? Tikor says to Chemo that she thinks MJ can be a good ally, but so many people mentioned her name. She also doesn't want to do Cam, but a ton of people mentioned him too. And so she is starting to feel like those are some of the options. And Joseph does say to Leah, like, hey, I'm looking out for you. Don't worry about it. And she tells him, I was looking, there was a box of condoms in Tucker's HOH room, and they were, look at Detective Leah, they were unopened before, but today they were opened. And Rubina never went back to bed last night. Leah, the bed police, is carefully tracking when Rubina is in bed and not in bed. And so it is, she has concocted a theory, and I can't say that she's probably wrong.
We could have just said the feeds were cut and ended it, Taran, but we have to talk about the Sex Detective Chronicles here.
It's relevant. It matters to Leah.
I mean, listen, it is, key observations. This is a good, you've observed a thing, you've noticed a thing, but also you were looking for that thing. You were keeping an eye on that box.
Oh, she was watching it like a hawk. She was watching Rubina's bed like a hawk. Was her bed made? Was it not made? She's been watching Rubina for days.
Nothing gets past Leah. She figured it out. She cracked the case as I don't want to make the crack the condom joke, but it writes itself, you know.
Yeah, and of course for Leah, like this is an awful thing. She's like, I hate this. I really want Rubina to be able to play her own game, and it's just such a shame. And Joseph is like, I don't know, it's kind of a good thing, right? Like they're going to be shields for us. And she's like, yeah. I mean, yeah. It doesn't even matter, but like, yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Leah, in her monologue, it should have been me. Yeah.
All right. So that's really, again, things got so choppy. There was never like a full conclusion for like what the plans are for nominations. I would say we'd be on the lookout this morning for confirmation of what the plan is going to be. Is Tucker going to talk himself off of the block? Is Chemo going to talk Tucker off the block? Will it be Cam and MJ and Tucker? If it's not Tucker, will it be Leah? But the feeds are still down, so I don't know.
Yeah, tune in tomorrow to see if Taran and whoever you're, I mean, depending on how you look at it, unlucky or lucky guest, get any feeds to discuss / what you do get to discuss. Because yeah, well, I mean, a lot of the clarity should come now, but I almost have this suspicion that by the time they show up, they would have had the nominees decided. Although it is T-Core, so there's still a morsel of a chance that even if the feeds come on 30 minutes before they go down for the noms, T-Core may not know exactly what she's doing or where she wants to go.
I mean, nominations usually won't happen until like afternoon Pacific time, so there's still quite a lot of time before we would normally get nominations. If the feeds are actually down for all of that time, then that's significant. That some really bad stuff must have gone down.
Yeah, definitely. Also, again, to go back to some of the theories I've seen, someone had mentioned AI instigator stuff potentially being filmed at 5 a.m. Like, I don't think that's happening then. I'm sorry. But that being said, if we want to quickly pivot to that, Taran, I was thinking about this, and I think anybody winning the instigator this week could be fun, except for Tucker, because I don't think Tucker is going to want to instigate stuff with T-Core. I really don't see him doing that. I think he's being very authentic in his feelings towards T-Core, but a Joseph instigator would be pretty fun.
I would agree, but I don't even know what it does.
I just assume it's gonna be the powers that Quinn had that he couldn't. That right? It's the second half. So
that's my assumption too. Is that it's just the hologram?
Yeah, but like,
things.
Can you pick like any? Is like choose your character, and you get to pick like, okay, so I want to pick Cam, and Cam's gonna be shady towards Chelsea. Like, do you get to pick stuff like? Is it basically you're making a play of what you want to say throughout the week?
Yeah, but yeah. It's more so gonna be like who actually did this than people being mad at Cam. Like it's gonna be like, well, who made Cam say this? Who would have it out for Cam? So you'd have to like sort of think a couple layers deep of like, okay, if I want to actually instigate something here and I want to make somebody get in trouble, I need to think who okay, who do I want to get in trouble? Let's say you are Joseph and you want Cam to get in trouble. Then you have to like be like, okay, well, who would Cam try to make look bad? And then you impersonate that person. And then it's like, oh, who would do that? Cam. Right? So
also you pepper yourself in there for one of the avatars for sure.
But who knows? It might not even be that. It might be something else. So but yes, I do think there's certainly an element of the feeds being down that could be related to the AI instigator. We're certainly not going to see the hologram on the feeds.
No.
And so there's some precedent for that, but the timing of it here is very coincidental if the feeds have been down all morning for this and for such a lengthy period of time as well. At this point, the feeds have been down longer than any ceremony or thing like that. And I don't see why that would be. Unless they're like stacking all of the instigator stuff in the same, at the same time. Like it just doesn't seem super likely that that's the only explanation for the feeds currently being down.
Or at least that's as far as we can detect it. We're not as good at detectives as Leah is, but we try.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's what we have for you for now then. I will of course be back tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, to update you on everything that does eventually maybe happen on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. Pooya, anything else that you want to bring up from today?
I think that's about everything. I feel like we kind of got all the food. Oh, no. I misspoke. T-Core's music for the week, Beyonce. Beyonce. Great pick.
After the no-show last night. Yeah.
The special treat that never was.
All right. Well, stay tuned. I will be live with Rob for the BB Q&A later today at 3 p.m. Eastern. And then again tomorrow morning with an update. You can, of course, as always, find me over on Twitch, hanging out, watching episodes, playing games. And we talked to Brooklyn earlier today. That will be going live right after this ends. So stay tuned if you want to hear from Brooklyn. I asked her about being a married mother, and I told her about Angela spying on her on the screen and saying, "I know I'm your competition." So got some fun reactions from that. So check out the Brooklyn interview. Pooya, anything else going on with you?
Well, I can be found on Twitter at Pooyaism, twitch.tv/Pooya. I'll be live tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, as we do on Friday night. It's going to be fun. So come through, check us out, say hello. It's always good. Myself and Mike Bloom talked about the first 3 episodes of The Anonymous. With feeds being down, if you're looking for something to wet the beak as far as social strategy goes, give it a check. It's a very good merge, I feel like, between the Traders, the Circle, and the Mole. I think, Taran, you might actually be into this if you gave it a shot. I think I would be curious to see what your thought is on the game design, because I actually think it has a lot of potential. So y'all can check that out. We've talked about the first 3 episodes. That's available on the feed. Myself and Kirsten will be recording 90 Day Fiance this week. So that hasn't happened yet, but be on the lookout for that. And as usual, I feel like I'm forgetting something, but that's just the punishment for that podcast that I can't. Oh, no. Love Island. I talked about the reunion. I was the guest with Scally and Kirsten. Check them out. We had a good time talking about a hour and a half of 2 hours. It was a lot. Anyway, I'm going to go nap now. Y'all take care.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here today. And I will see all of you next time.
You shouldn't have eaten my charcuterie board.